every single day. I'm gonna make something great.
Hello friends, welcome back. This I got at Michael's craft store for $37 and some change. I've already taken out of its package. It's Free Spirit and it's by Loops and Thread. And it is 60% polyester, 20% acrylic, and 20% wool. So I like that it's not 100% wool because it would be super itchy, and it's not. It literally feels luxurious. I was originally going to do one of those chunky knit throws. I love those. But I've decided instead I'm gonna do a scarf because it's probably more the amount that I have here. If you want to do a throw, it's literally the same process, but you just do it bigger. And I would say if you're going to get it at Michael's, I would go online and get the 50% off coupon so it's not costing you as much. I think this would be a great gift, and it might be a gift to myself. I'm going to show you two different ways. So because I'm not really sure if I want to do a regular scarf or an infinity scarf. So I'm going to show you how to do both, and you can decide which one you want to do. Let's get started. Okay guys, so the first thing you do is make a loop. And the size of loop is going to depend on how tightly woven you want it. So for a scarf, I'm going to have it a little bit smaller. So if you were going to do a blanket, I would make the loop just a little bit bigger. So I guess it would just depend on how you want it. Like I said, how closely woven you want it. So next you're just going to create another loop inside that one. And another one, just reach your hand through that loop and pull it through to create another one. So I'm actually going to do 5 loops. From the tutorials that I've watched to learn how to do this on YouTube, I think I watched Comfy Wool, and she spoke in French, but she did have subtitles, and I just thought it was easy to follow. So if you want to follow her, that's fine. She suggested 24 loops for a blanket, but it was a lot more fabric than this. So I'm going to do 5, and then on the 5th one, I'm going to create another loop and have it go up. So within that, I'm going to cross my yarn over. And within each one of these loops, I'm going to reach through and create another loop on top of it. So basically, I'm putting my hand through that first row loop and pulling the yarn through it to create another loop on top of it. So I'm creating another row. So I think this is 4. And then when I get to the last one, I put my hand through, pull the yarn through to create another loop. And to start a new row, I'm just going to start with that last one and just create another loop on top of it to start a new row. So same thing, I'm going to cross my yarn over so it's going in that direction. It just makes it easier for me. And then I'm going to put my hand through the loop and pull the yarn through to create another loop on top of that. And I'm just going to continue to do this. So each time I get to the end on each side, you just create another loop on top of that last one that you did to start a new row, basically. So as I'm doing all of this, the only thing that I'm being mindful of is trying to keep my loops around the same size. And yeah, it's basically, once you get down a little ways, you can see it kind of looks like chains braided together. And yeah, so you do want it to be somewhat similar in size. And the reason I'm maybe kind of going a little bit slow is because the fabric itself is delicate and pulls apart very easy, kind of like cotton. It feels a lot like cotton. So yeah, it's pretty delicate. So I take my time and basically just repeat this step. So if you were doing a throw, it would be the same thing, just wider. Okay, so when you get to the end, we're going to do the infinity scarf first. You pull one end close to the other end, and you put the two end loops together from both sides, and you pull the yarn through it. Then you can either put both loops from both ends together and pull the yarn through it, or just do them individually. It was easier for me to see it by doing them individually. So I didn't confuse myself, because it can get confusing. So basically you just weave that yarn through the end loops, and that just connects them together. Okay, so when you get to the end of that, what you're going to do is you're going to tie both of the end pieces that are hanging out together. Not in a tight knot, but just, tie them together. And then you're basically going to weave that extra yarn inside the scarf. Just kind of follow the pattern that you can see and just weave it in there. And it's basically going to hide it inside the scarf. So I actually turned it right side out at this point, and that was just a personal preference. But yeah, so I loved it that way. So if you want it to be a regular scarf, what you do is when you get to the end, you put two of the loops that are right next to each other together, and you pull the yarn through it to create another loop. Then with that loop, you grab the loop next to it and pull the yarn through it to create another loop. And the same thing with that loop, you connect it with the loop next to it, pull through, and with the last one you do the same thing. So my yarn ended up being just the right amount, so I just kind of created another loop there to tie it off. And then I just wove that little piece into the scarf, and it's done. Okay, so I still have that little piece of yarn sticking out at the end where I started. So basically I'm just gonna weave it through the same way, and this is done. So I actually prefer this to the infinity scarf. So it's super soft and super warm. I actually love it. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.